Up next, the WHL show with Gabriel Neumann.
Hi, and welcome back to the WHL show. I think my intro got cut off a bit there, so if you're tuning in and you see just cut off a bit of that, sorry. But hi, welcome back. I am doing a live broadcast again today, just because we are back to doing a recap of the week, and I don't have any features this week. Hopefully, I will have some features on some guests on next week. I'm very excited to announce those, and everything is going to be super great there. So make sure that you tune in next week as well. Today, we're just going to be going over some the things that's been going on in the WHL, some rankings, standings, points, leaders, etc., just to get a good idea of what's been going on. Because I know that as somebody who lives in Washington, for example, sometimes it's easy to only hear Western Division news and not hear most of the Eastern Division, or vice versa. So we're going to be chatting about that today. And yeah, very excited for you guys to be watching. Thank you for tuning in with me. You guys are great. We're going to go ahead and just kick it off with our our players of the week. So our player and our goaltender of the week. Our player of the week is going to be Winterhawks forward Chaz Lucius. He had he had 11 points in 4 games, 4 goals. Four of those were goals, 7 of those were assists. He was drafted by the Winterhawks in the 2018 WHL draft, but hasn't played with them until this season when the Winnipeg Jets loaned him to the club for the remainder of this season. So very excited for him to be here, as he's absolutely making an impact and already earned Player of the Week just a few weeks into his WHL career. He scored twice on Friday against the Swift Current Broncos. The Saturday he also scored. He's pretty much, as you can tell, he scored a lot, and so there's a bunch of goals there. He was a first round pick, 18th overall by Winnipeg in the 2021 NHL draft, and is currently playing with the Winterhawks. So what a great welcome to the Western Hockey League, I'd say, because that's incredible. Now our goaltender of the week is Tri-City Americans goaltender Tomasz Suchanek, who of course you guys know, big fan of. He had 3 games played over the past week and a 1.67 goals against average, and then a .948 save percentage. He has not lost a game since November. I know, it's amazing. So he has not had has not suffered a defeat with Tri-City since November 23rd, 2023. He has an in unbeaten streak of 11 games. And has just been doing amazing. He is ranked 8th among North American goaltenders by NHL Central Scouting going into the 2023 NHL draft. So definitely a goaltender to listen for in the upcoming draft, just because of everything. I could sit here forever and talk to you about about him, but so he was the goaltender of the week this week. Well deserved, doing great. And both the Winterhawks and the Americans are doing really well, especially over the past week, and so they are definitely good teams and good players to recognize for those recognitions. And then, because it's the last day of the month, I'll also cover the winners of the month, not just the players of the month, and not just the players of the week. As I just discussed, we had Lucius as player of the week and Suchanek as the goaltender of the week. But the player of the month is actually Tri-City Americans player Parker Bell. Still waiting to hear updates on his recovery, but wishing him the best and speedy recovery as soon as possible. Hope he's doing great after that injury in that game this past weekend. Hope he's doing well. But congratulations to him for earning Player of the Month. And then the goaltender of the month. I skipped ahead. The goaltender of the month is going to be Seattle Thunderbirds goaltender Scott Ratzlaff. And then the rookie of the month is Alexander. Yes, sorry, Alexander Suzdalev of the Regina Pats. And last but not least, the Canada West grad of the month is Brett Davis, who was a center for the Lethbridge Hurricanes a couple years back. So, yeah. So for points leaders, this is one of my favorite things that I really like to do. Um, I like to look at who's leading the standings. I only list the top two for each one, and then for goaltenders, same thing, top two. And then I compare them to last week and give you guys a good idea of like who's been in the standings. And so for the points leaders, they have they're pretty much as expected, very consistent. We have the same few names that you hear every week or so. So honestly, every week or so, if something changes, it's really going to be just a name who is third or fourth. And sometimes they bounce back up and down. So it's still something really fun that I like to look at. And yeah, so for points in total, Connor Bedard of the Regina Pats, of course, is in first. He has 85 this week. Last week, he was in first with 81. Zach Benson of the Winnipeg Ice is second. He was also second last week. He had 66 points last week and had 65 points this. Sorry, no, I just totally flipped that. He has 66 points this week and 65 points last week. There we go. Doing great. All right. For goals, number one is going to be Connor Bedard from the Regina Pats again. He has 42 point goals this week. Last week, he had 39. For assists, he is also in first. He has 43. He has 43 assists. Last week, he had 42. And then he is actually tied for first for assists. His teammate, Stanislav Svozil, of the Regina Pats, as well as I just said, he also is tied in first with 43 points. Assists. As I said, Bedard had 42 last week, and then Svozil had 41. So they've both gone up. That's really good. Now for goaltenders, our goaltenders in goals against average, the ones that are leading there. I have Austin Elliott in first. He is of the Saskatoon Blades with a 2.05 save percentage. Oh gosh, no, 2.05 goals against average. That's not even possible. The save percentage there. 2.5 goals against average. There we go. And he actually is in first as he was last week with the same numbers. So last week he was in first with 2.05, and so that's pretty cool. Now for second in goals against average, it's going to be Scott Ratzlaff, who earned, as I mentioned earlier, the goaltender of the month. He has a 2.26. And last week he was tied for second with a few other players. I think his goalie partner Milic, and also I think it was the Red Deer Rebels goaltender Stesser. I think they were tied for second with 2.27. Is that right? 2.27? Yeah, 2.27. And this week, Ratzlaff is actually in second with 2.26. So he's gone up a bit. Now for save percentage, it's going to be the same as it was last week for the first place, with Moose Jaw Warriors goaltender Connor Unger taken first for that. He has a .924 save percentage. Last week he had a .922, so his numbers have gone up there. Great on him. Number two is actually going to be Scott Ratzlaff. I'm pretty sure he was third or fourth last week, but he's gone up. He has a .917 save percentage, and then last week we had second place. It was the other Thunderbirds goaltender, Thomas Milic. He had a .920 last week. This week he actually has a .916, so he's just below Ratzlaff. Yeah, so definitely great goalies, great tandem in Seattle for sure. Now for the CHL top 10, this is going into a whole nother thing. This is another one of my favorites to look at. It's basically the CHL. I think it's like there's somebody who sponsors it. I have the full name listed out somewhere in my notes, but I'm not going to go digging for it. But they do a whole ranking over who's doing well in the in the CHL. And this week we have 5 WHL teams that are in those standings. So we have in the number 2 spot, the Winnipeg Ice with a 35-6-1-0 record this season. In fourth is the Seattle Thunderbirds with 33-8-1-1. Portland Winterhawks come in fifth. They have a 34-8-2-1. Red Deer Rebels are in ninth, and then they have a 32-10-1-3. And then the honorable mention is going to be the Kamloops Blazers. They have a 27-10-4-2 record this season. So technically, 4 WHL teams made it into the top 10 of the CHL rankings, but the fifth one, the Kamloops Blazers, got that honorable mention, so counting them in. So for the Winnipeg, I mean, pretty much. The Winnipeg Ice, they had a 2-1 loss against Lethbridge on Friday, but they actually completed it with back-to-back. They completed the weekend with back-to-back victories. Notable names for over the weekend were Carson Lambos and then Owen Peterson. And that was in a 5-1 road trip over Red Deer and also a 5-1 victory over the Calgary Hitmen. Right now, the Winnipeg Ice have the most wins in the WHL at 35. So, whew. And then next in the WHL, basically, next into the WHL, I was about to go on a whole different tangent. The next WHL spot is going to be the Seattle Thunderbirds. They had a 1-1-0 week right now. So before, if you've watched the show or if you pay attention to the top 10 rankings, you'll know that the Seattle Thunderbirds have been in first and second and kind of bouncing up in there in the top 3 spots very consistently. Right now, they're actually dropped down to the 4th spot, which is obviously still quite impressive being in the top 5 there. But they did go down a couple spots. Notable name for that is Lucas Siona, who had 4 points on Friday's game and a 7-2 win on over Spokane. That same weekend, the Saturday on the 28th, the Winterhawks actually beat them 5-2. And that's possibly why they did go down that spot. So yeah, that's fun. And we'll also talk a little bit more about Lucas Siona a little bit later. So if you're a Thunderbirds fan, stay tuned for that. It'll be short. It'll be fun. So the Portland Winterhawks are next. They have now gone into the 5th spot in the standings for the 5th time this season. So they've also been a notable team that have been in the rankings a bunch. Not as high as Seattle, but very high and very commendable for sure. Notable names for them this past week are James Stefan, Luca Cagnoni, and Chaz Lucius. James Stefan had 4 points on Friday, and then Luca Cagnoni had scored twice on Saturday in that same 5-2 win over the Thunderbirds. Also Mark Alsher, who had a overtime winner on Sunday, beating Spokane 4-3. So definitely some great names and some great players and all that fun stuff. Now for the next WHL team, that's actually the Red Deer Rebels in the 9th spot. Now, the Rebels are, they have the 4th most wins in the WHL in the entire league, which is another commendable number. They are going back into the rankings for the first time in 4 weeks. So they kind of dropped off for a little bit in the top 10 rankings, but they're back. They had a 5-1 win over the Saskatoon Blades, and that was on Saturday. But the next day, they did lose 5-1 against the Winnipeg Ice. So fun. And then on to our honorable mention. We have the Kamloops Blazers, who had they split the weekend series with Victoria. So they won and then lost. So on Friday, they won 7-4. Notable names with them being this past week, of course, being Matthew Semenoff and Logan Stankoven. And then on Saturday, they lost 3-2, and this was again against the Royals. So yeah, that's really fun. Uh, I love when they do back-to-back games, not just the Blazers, but any team. Whenever it's back-to-back, it's really interesting because you'll never know like which if it'll be a consistent like double win or double loss or flipping them. So it's cool. It's cool to see. Awesome. And now for general news. This morning I actually only had 2 bullet points, but 2 more things have gotten announced since then. So I have a bit more to talk to you about, which I think is great. So this past week, Rhett Melnick of the Edmonton Oil Kings was named the 15th captain of the Oil Kings. He actually was on the show earlier in, I think, October. Yeah, it was October because that was the same time that I interviewed Tomash. So that's cool. Yeah, so if you little promo time, if you're an Oil Kings fan and want to learn a little bit more about your captain, feel free to check that out. He was great. But yeah, so he is now the captain of the Edmonton Oil Kings. Congrats to him. That's awesome. And speaking of captaincy, I nearly said Americans, the Seattle Thunderbirds, very different team, have announced their captaincy for the rest of the season. So right now, Lucas Siona was named captain. Remember when I said I was going to bring him up? I got him. I got him. There he is. So he was named captain of the Seattle Thunderbirds, and also the A's were announced. The alternate captains were announced as well. And yeah, so they have a firm leadership team for sure. Definitely some good guys there. Another thing that's been going on last week, the top prospects game took place. Team White won. And there, of course, the top prospects game. If you missed it, which actually I did because I was working. So, or was I working? I don't know. I just was busy. I remember I was busy. Anyway, I missed it and I was devastated because it's such a fun game that I feel all fans should look forward to, especially just early on because it's um and going into the draft obviously because all these draft picks or sorry draft prospects are absolutely just they're so fun to watch them when they all get together and play together and against each other. It's just absolutely insane. And so seeing all the really great guys coming in and playing, definitely a game to watch. So next year I will be on that to make sure I actually watch it because this year I was busy and I was so mad. But if you watched it, feel free to tune in. Tell me how you liked it. Was it fun? Was it good? I hope it was good because it sounded like it was great. Um, and so now we have the last but not least thing. I actually just copy and pasted this article in here because I I was logging on to start streaming and I found the article. So yeah, let's talk about it because it was posted a few hours ago. WHL alumnus Matt Berlin was the Edmonton Oilers e-bug, the emergency backup goalie. If you don't know what an e-bug is, I am so sorry. Not because you don't know, but I mean because you don't know. Because the e-bugs are fun. I love uh they're fun. Basically, because there must be a backup goaltender at all times, and this is just for those who may not know. Um, Bread and super easy explanation. Because there must be two goaltenders at all times, there must be a backup. If the backup is injured, or sorry, if there's not a starter and the backup has to go in, and the starter can't back up, then the e-bug has to back up. Or if the backup's injured and the starter's injured, then the e-bug goes in and plays. I said it was simple, and then I totally just explained it in the most complicated way possible. So sorry. Anyway, um, yeah. So Matt Berlin he was a goaltender for obviously for the Seattle Thunderbirds. And he played for the Edmonton Oilers for a day, which I think is really cool. Right now he plays for the University of Alberta. And I'm just gonna read this to you real quick. The University of Alberta netminder was studying for a psychology midterm this past Saturday when he was asked to serve as the emergency backup goaltender for the Edmonton Oilers on Saturday. He took warm up in his hometown Oilers and his green and gold Alberta Golden Bears pads. That is an incredible name, by the way, the Golden Bears. I love it. Anyway, and then he settled in on the home bench to watch Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl, and company square off against the Chicago Blackhawks. He last year he was called to be the emergency backup goaltender as well. But he sat in the stands last year. He didn't actually suit up, but this year he suited up. And he's backing up, and so he didn't play, at least to my knowledge, but he was there, and I just I don't know, just the goalie nerd in me freaks out whenever uh, goalies do things. That's a sentence. But yeah, so Edmonton had won 7-3. And then, oh, never mind. I totally just lied to you. He played for 2 minutes. He at the end of it, Jack Campbell Edmonton was winning, and they replaced Jack Campbell, started netminder Jack Campbell with Berlin for the final 2:26 of the period. That is, I've literally, I'm looking at the video on my phone, and I've seen this video, and I don't know how I told y'all that he didn't play. My brain just stopped. Sorry, guys. Anyway, so he played the final 2:26, so that is absolutely cool. He faced the lone shot. Right. I feel like I just read about this too, and I didn't even clock that this was like Saturday. Oh my gosh. Anyway, sorry. Wow. Um, he had one shot and he blocked it, which was actually shot by Chicago defenseman Caleb Jones, who is also a WHL alumnus. And so now he has a 0.00 goals against average and a 1.00 save percentage. And just imagine, that is so cool. I love that so much. So yeah, he did great. And we've had, of course, some I say I mean the NHL. The NHL have had some really cool e-bug stories of course with David Ayres and Scott Foster, other backup goaltenders there. But yeah, so it's really cool whenever they get to be there. I love them. Um, so and especially yeah. So I lost all words. Okay. Appreciate you guys for watching. I'm pretty much gonna cut it off here. You guys are all super great. That is it for today. We had some fun games, little personal, but my birthday was actually on Saturday, and I was at the Thunderbirds and Winterhawks game, and so that was a lot of fun. Love hockey, it's so good. And yeah, so I am very excited going into the second half of the season. I also don't want to think about it too hard because that means that my favorite players who are in their overager year, I don't want to think about them leaving. So I'm just gonna not until it's too late. But yeah. So thanks for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed. Next week I am going to have 2 U.S. division players come on. So if you like the U.S. division, make sure that you keep an eye out to see who those two see who. Let me try again. Oh my gosh, see who those 2 players are. There we go. Yeah, you guys are great. If you do, I have been reaching out to some people, posted on my Instagram story and have been just asking around. If you want to see a specific player or even a repeat of somebody I brought on, focusing on the overagers, that is, if you have an overager player who you would like to see before he leaves, feel free to reach out to me and I will get that. I will try to accommodate that. And I don't, he can totally have been on before. There are some repeats that I'm going to do my best to get on here for you guys because I think that that'd be a lot of fun comparing their first and last at the beginning and the end of the season. So, yeah. Yeah. So if you have any requests, any commentary, comments, criticism, feedback, all that fun stuff, questions, blah, 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 feel free to message me on Twitter. If you have my Instagram, feel free to message me there as well. You guys are super great. Thank you so much for tuning in. And feel free to tune in next week when I have hopefully more WHL news or 2 U.S. Division guests. Yeah.